Lipa before we came on the air. Who knew you were a big Dua Lipa fan? There you go.
That's for Marcus.
I love it.
Shout out to the flu. Shout out to the flu.
All right, shout out to the 40-somethings, you guys. How about this game last night,
people.
right? Goodness gracious. Joe Flacco, Aaron Rodgers, Bengals, Steelers, and with the Bengals trailing 10-0 with under 5 minutes left in the half, Flacco finding Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I love the fact that they cut his split down, create that one-on-one. Him and Jalen Ramsey just competing for the ball. Jamar finds a way to go chase it down.
Yeah. Joe Burrow loving it. 16 catches, Bengals franchise record, and T. Higgins getting into the act, too.
This is just another essentially one-on-one route, a 3-step slant. Higgins in the middle of space, touchdown.
All right, so it's a 2nd and 13 from the 44. Next drive for the Steelers. Rodgers sends it to DK Metcalf, but what a play by DJ Turner.
I think DJ Turner's become like one of the best corners in football. That's a pretty impressive pick with the size of DK.
All right, now the Steelers are trailing 20-10, and this is just a dime to Pat Freiermuth.
The throws that both these quarterbacks made last night, pretty impressive. That Bender versus two high safeties, beautiful.
That was really fun to watch. 2nd and 20 from their 32. He finds Freiermuth again. This is just a huge play. 68 yards for the TD.
That guy's 41 or 42 years old doing that. 2.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Moves out to his left. Throws an absolute dart to Freiermuth. Look at this. I mean, this is 15, 20 years ago looking Aaron Rodgers. Just an unbelievable play. And it feels like the Steelers, as poorly as they played for stretches, might find a way to pull it off.
Yeah, but it was 2 minutes and 21 seconds left when they took that lead. And here goes Flacco right after the 2-minute warning, finding Chase.
Jarring to watch that final drive. I mean, easy completion to Jamar Chase. Easy completion to Jamar Chase. And then it's T. Higgins one-on-one once again versus Jalen Ramsey. The competitiveness to go find the throw and the selflessness to slide down at the 5.
Yep, heads-up play by Higgins as the clock winds down to 11 seconds. It's up to Evan McPherson, a 36-yarder for the win. And the Bengals upset the Steelers. Big division win, 33-31. But wait, there was one last chance here. This was the Hail Mary that didn't get answered. But, man, that ball made its way to the end zone.
That ball goes 70 in the air. I mean, it's
right.
It's remarkable how strong the arm is still.
How about that? Here's both quarterbacks after the game.
This is the NFL. You know, we had a chance to really open up some space, but we're 4-2, still first in the division. Got a couple, home games coming up, back to back. Another Sunday night opportunity against my former team. So, I'm not going to ride the roller coaster, and I know Mike isn't. And hopefully you guys follow suit.
Do you expect to ever have this feeling again?
It's a good question. I didn't feel like it felt like I might not, to be honest with you. It's pretty special.
Well, RC, now we know why Mike Tomlin didn't want him traded to the Bengals. That had to hurt your heart, the way the Steelers played defense in that one.
Yeah, it definitely made me hate the Cleveland Browns more than I already hated them. I think, Drake and the young people, they were looking for the function all summer with Nokia. I think last night the Bengals and the Steelers were looking for the unction because that's the age of these quarterbacks. And Joe Flacco absolutely played out of his mind. But when you think about the reason the Steelers were outplayed, it was schematics and also people.
Yeah.
The way that Zach Taylor approached this game was early on, if you were going to play too high, they were comfortable handing the football off. And as things evolved throughout the night and they had to start bringing some people in the box, trying to bring pressure, play single high safety, they took the one-on-ones. And then even when you doubled, as we just saw T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, they would hit Yoshivasa. They would use Noah Fant. I thought it was a masterful game plan, but the execution was just phenomenal. Joe Flacco turned back the hands of time and looked like 2015 Joe Flacco. Some of those balls were so pinpoint accurate, the velocity it was thrown with. And then we watch players on the outside just be better than the other guys. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins were better than Joey Porter and Jalen Ramsey. It was truly an epic night for this Bengals offense, but it was an epic debacle defensively for the Pittsburgh Steelers from Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin. It was a total miss and a failure.
Yeah, the Steelers defense can really only do one thing well right now, and that's rush the passer. And if you're going up against a quarterback like Joe Flacco, who had a 2.44 second time to throw last night, which is super fast, you're taking away the one thing they do well, and now you're playing into their weaknesses, which are coverage and tackling. Okay, basically everything else in terms of playing defense. Ryan hit what really happened in terms of like the game planning, but I will say, even though they got a little bit run on when they played too high, I still think they played way too much man coverage against this team. These cornerbacks against these receivers was just such a glaring mismatch. And when they didn't play man, they played a lot of really predictable cover 3. And Flacco said, cool, I'm just going to throw into the voids every time. This is a defense that really needs to dramatically rethink things if they want to be a competitive playoff team, because right now I do not see them holding up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, unengaged is the way that I would describe the whole defensive unit and plan. Just completely unengaged. If you watch them defend the run, guys are standing up with pad level left and right. Guys are getting in and out of the wrong or right gaps on a consistent basis. Some of these run lanes that Cincinnati had last night, who's a very poor running the football team, you watching defenders just completely stand up. You can see their numbers. Guys going in the wrong gaps, front side or back side. I also say this. I felt like at times, RC and MK and Hannah, they were trying to disguise their coverages so much, they disguised themselves into a problem. Like sometimes the safeties tried to rotate so differently and so late that Joe was like, oh, there's gashing holes backside there. Corners tried to rotate to the half, and it left just voids to the sidelines. And so I think that's the big takeaway is, this is a defense I felt like was crazy simple last year. Are they trying to do too much right now where it's
I don't know.
all the parts aren't connected?
Didn't seem like they made any adjustments. RC.
I'm sorry, Hannah, just really quick. The Bengals game plan was also pretty predictable.
Totally.
It wasn't that the Bengals came out and did something that you, myself, or MK didn't know pregame. We knew exactly what it was going to be, and the Pittsburgh Steelers did seem disengaged, but also unprepared, and they had an inability to adjust, which was the scarier piece of the entire night.
Yeah, it's so weird. They're 0-7 on Thursdays against division opponents under Mike Tomlin. That's just a strange
that one doesn't make
stat.
sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. Obviously, they didn't close. Yeah. Okay, this is really unfortunate for the folks in London. They're not going to see one of the greatest receivers in the world, Puka Nacua. He is out for that Rams game with the Jaguars on Sunday morning at Wembley Stadium. He suffered that really scary ankle injury in the Week 6 win over the Ravens. And listen, it is no secret. This guy has been Matthew Stafford's very favorite target. In fact, nobody this season has a higher percentage of their team's catches than Puka Nacua does for the Rams. He accounts for over a third of their catches and receiving yards. Really, really big loss for this team. So on the defensive side, when you look at how the Jaguars are going to approach that offense, what do you expect now, RC?
Well, I think the first thing that you're going to get from Anthony Capelli's Capinelli's defense is that you're going to have a focus on Devontae Adams. Listen, they went into last week and they were playing against the Seattle Seahawks, who didn't have a Puka Nacua or Devontae Adams, but they definitely had a Jackson Smith-Njigba, who is head and shoulders the number one target of that team, and he was still able to get off. And so they're going to have to put that focus on Devontae Adams in the back end for this team. But it's also going to be for them about stopping the run. You know that now Sean McVay is going to come into this game with a heavy dose of run game that can allow Matthew Stafford to get into the play action. And so it's going to start up front there, and then it'll be about disguising your defenses, because even without Puka Nacua, whether it's Jordan Whittington or Tutu Atwell or Devontae Adams, if Matthew Stafford can see the rotation of this zone that they love to play, he'll find a way to eat it up and scheme it up.
And what about this offense on the other side, Dan? Because we know Liam Cohen was there with Sean McVay for 4 years. So what are you looking for from Trevor Lawrence and company?
I need Trevor Lawrence's second progression throw to look like his first progression read. When number one is there, Trevor throws it as good as anybody. But still looking for the consistency of, I go to number one and I set to number one and he's not there, and he gets to number two, which is the right read. I want the throw to look like he's the number one read, meaning I want it to come out with consistency. I want it to come out with conviction. I need the ball placement to be premier. This is a defense in LA that it's going to give you completions. It's not an overly aggressive one. They play with the proper leverage, but they're not an incredibly attacking one. And when Trevor has to kind of move his feet or kind of get to that second or third progression, Mentally, you can tell he's getting there. I need physically it to match as well.
Yeah. And for that to even happen, they got to do a better job protecting Trevor than they did against Seattle. And for me, against this particular defense, that the Rams' 5-man rush, which has been really good all year and was excellent, I thought, against the Ravens. Look here, you got Josiah Stewart lined up inside Jared Verse. So Jared Goff gets a one-on-one versus the tackle to force the incompletion. They use this constantly to get one-on-ones. Here, they're showing an all-out blitz, but then the two edge rushers drop into coverage. So this time, Cam Curl gets a one-on-one, and Cooper Rush goes running. Finally, this is just a 4-man presentation, but they're going to add on a backer in this case, and once again, you get that one-on-one for Jared Verse. When the Rams rush 5 pass rushers this year, they are getting pressure 52% of the time, which is the 4th highest rate in football. And that is something in particular that Jacksonville is going to have to worry about in this game because it's so successful.
Yeah, let's Dan Man.
Mina, do you like when they have Verse inside, though, and that stuff? Or, like, do you prefer him on the – I think it's better, much better, and he's much better when he stays on the outside.
Yes.
Yeah, I prefer him on the outside, too. As you saw, like, on those plays, he's able to use both his speed and his power, speed to power in those situations. So I like it because it crashes the pocket, and he's so good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to take a look at our picks. It's really interesting because we're starting the show the right way on Friday. Even split down the middle.
Good,
yeah,
good.
RC and I are on the Rams.
I like it.
Dan and Mina
like
on the – yeah, how come the Rams? Real quick, RC.
No, I just think that Sean McVay is going to figure out a way to find ways to score. And I still don't believe in Trevor Lawrence fully. And the Rams front has made this team so opportunistic to me in the way that they pressure the quarterback.
All right, we have some injuries affecting other big names across the NFL. So we have Terry McLaurin. He remains out for a 4th straight game. David Njoku is also not playing on Sunday. Several others are banged up, including Calvin Ridley and Garrett Wilson. And a big surprise name here, guys. We didn't expect to necessarily see this. Trayvon Diggs is out.
What?
That was as of today. And here's Dallas head coach. Yeah, he's out. Here's what Shoddy had to say about it.
Trayvon Diggs came in this morning with some concussion symptoms after having an accident at his home. He's been checked out by our doctors and is in the protocol and will miss the game.
Yeah, so we're going to have more on that coming up. Strengths, offense, what do they say?
All right, Hannah. So the Colts have scored the most points in the NFL this season, but we're taking it a step deeper. We're talking about points per drive. How efficient is Indianapolis on each of their possessions? 3.34 points per drive this season. Look at the company they're in. 2007 Patriots, MVP Tom Brady, they got to the Super Bowl. 2013 Broncos, MVP Peyton Manning, they got to the Super Bowl. So this is where the Colts are at through 6 games. Historic company when you talk about how efficient they've been on each possession. So how are they doing it? They're doing it with the NFL's leading rusher in Jonathan Taylor and Daniel Jones, who's having a career renaissance in Indianapolis. Highest total QBR in the NFL, but this is the number I want to focus on. He has only been sacked 5 times in 6 games. That is the fewest in the entire league. Shane Steichen scheming it up for Jones. They have been in max protect with at least 7 blockers on the highest percent in the entire NFL. But you guys know these defenses are too good this year, right? Too good in the NFL these days. Quarterbacks are always going to be under pressure at some point. And look at this. Daniel Jones has a total QBR of 91 when he is under duress with a defender in his face. That is by far the highest in the NFL. Look how much higher it is than Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield, 2 of the MVP favorites, highest at this point by any QB in the last decade. So these numbers tell me this is going to continue for the Colts on Sunday against the Chargers. Dan, we going cap or no cap?
I'm saying no cap, and I love this. A couple of things I want to kind of accentuate that Cap said. So points per drive is one of my favorite stats, just because I think when you point to that, it talks about you got to be efficient to do that. You have to be explosive, and then you got to be good in the red zone. Like it takes all those things. The 5 sacks is a combination of the offensive line's playing well. You talk about the max protection, which is Steichen, and then Daniel's like being much more aggressive as a quarterback. But the most impressive thing that Cap talked about is under pressure. That's his biggest flaw. That has been Daniel Jones' biggest flaw since he came out of Duke, since he was at the Giants, was in those moments of dealing with pressure, he would panic with the ball.
How do you correct that?
If I knew, Hannah, it's been corrected though. Like that's the thing. He would always. That's why he led with all those takeaways or giveaways. Excuse me, the fumbles and the turnovers.
Yeah.
That's the thing that he, with I'm sure the help of their coaches and the people, has corrected the most. And that's the reason why he's playing at such a good level. I think part of this offense is 5 snaps a game, you're going to get something new. I got to get myself in frame here.
Yeah.
5 snaps a game, you're going to get a scheme that you have not seen in the previous week. So that'll be a challenge to the Chargers. I talked about Daniel being aggressive. And then this is a team that runs off the tackle really well offensively. That's something the Chargers defensively struggled big time with against Miami. So specific to the game, those are things that Daniel and that offense can have success with.
I mean, listen, it doesn't hurt to have a guy like Jonathan Taylor sharing the backfield with you, Mina. How do you see him matching up against that Chargers defense?
I think he is the most important player on the Colts side in this game, in part because of what Dan said. The Chargers defense is very good, but they do struggle with off-tackle runs. They also play a very high amount of light boxes, and Jonathan Taylor, when he's running into 6-man boxes this year, is averaging 6.4 yards per carry. But the other side is I think the Chargers defense is really good at defending some of the things that the Colts do well. Play action, yards after the catch, the middle of the field. So in my mind, running isn't just part of it. It's the most important part of their offense. I am interested in seeing, by the way, how the return of Khalil Mack impacts things, potentially, if he plays for LA, because I think he's been not only important to their ability to get pressure with 4, but also their run defense. He's a very good run defender. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor, to me, is the key to this game.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the last 2 weeks, what Bill Krosky-Merritt was able to do, averaging 8 yards per carry, and then you come back the next week and we see the exact same thing from Devon Achane, then you know that Jonathan Taylor is going to be the focal point and priority of this offense. But what I've loved about Daniel Jones is his aggression in the play action. Yeah. Once Jonathan Taylor gets things going downhill, and the way that they utilize delayed releases by Tyler Warren on those play action passes, short crossers, stacks, the way he's attacked the seam, it all starts with this run game. And this run game is so diverse. It's physical, right? It attacks you on the edges. It can give you big plays and dynamic plays down the field, but he's also earned the tough yards. He's shown this year that he's the total running back, and what Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones have been able to do off of these run sets, quarterback under center, back in the queue, I think has truly put defenses in a tough spot of figuring out how they're going to attack Daniel Jones and this offense.
Yeah, RC, I would tell you the ending of that game last week against the Cardinals is probably the most important so far this season, because we've talked about it. This past week was the first time that Daniel Jones didn't look like he has so far this season. The interception should have been another interception. He didn't blink. He didn't go into the tank. He didn't become conservative with the football after that. Like, he had 2 massive drives at the end of that game. Being aggressive, like you're talking about with the football, that's a great sign.
Listen, early on in that game, he throws the interception to Mack Wilson on the boot. But there's a late throw down the seam to Alec Pierce where he puts it on his back shoulder here, where Mac Jones absolutely had a chance. I love the fact that he didn't paralyze himself by the earlier mistake and continue to be aggressive, because that's the only way they win that game against the Chargers.
All right, let's get to our picks. No, all good. Mina is the only one on the Chargers. And what is
that? She lives in California.
Who's that little person there that's next to your pick?
That's Joe Alt, the Chargers left tackle. I think he's going to play in this game. The Colts defense drops from 6 to 26 in success rate when they don't get pressure, and Joe Alt is that important to this Chargers offensive line. So if he plays, I'm rolling with LA, but if he doesn't play, I reserve the right to switch my pick.
There's no switching. No.
That's the smallest Joe Alt has ever been. Joe Alt ain't been that small in his life. He made some glasses.
You gotta keep him there, Mina. Sorry, we gotta lock
like
that
Joe
pick.
Alternate
With little mini Joe Alt. All right, it is time. Presented by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. We're going to start with that game. All right, Dan the man. Over, under 1.5 passing touchdowns for Daniel Jones.
I think he plays well, but I'm going to go under. This is a really good Chargers secondary. I just talked about how off-tackle runs, I think, are a little bit more of a benefit to the offense versus that defense. He'll play well. You don't throw a ton of touchdowns against this defense, specifically in the red zone. Warren versus Derwin James will be great. I'm going under.
Let's go to another game. Rashee Rice back from suspension this week for the Chiefs. RC, does he go for over 60 receiving yards against the Raiders?
Listen, I pretty much always pick the over, which is why I don't bet. But yes, I do believe he goes for over 60 receiving yards this week. And this is why. Think about when Xavier Worthy returned against the Baltimore Ravens. It was a concerted effort to put the football in his hands. They've been talking about what Rashee Rice means to this team for over a year now. I think they overemphasized that by putting the football in his hands in some catch and run situations. And we've seen how dynamic he can be.
Okay, Mina, a third game. Give us an anytime touchdown on Saints Bears.
I'm going with DeAndre Swift, the Bears running back. He doesn't have a lot of touchdowns this season, just a couple, but he's one coming off of his best game of the year. I think they're going to be able to move the ball on New Orleans. And two, when they get into the red zone, the Bears run the ball, at the 10th highest rate in football. So I think he will get opportunities, and here's hoping he capitalizes on one of them.
I really love this play sheet. A $10 bet on this wins you nearly $50. So there you go.
Get rich.
All right, still to come. The Eagles offense, we know they've been out of sync. Brian with a concussion. And with J.J. McCarthy still recovering from his high ankle sprain, the Vikings once again will start Carson Wentz, who spent his first 5 seasons of his career, of course, with Philly. Head coach Kevin O'Connell also said Max Brosmer's going to back him up and that McCarthy is the emergency third quarterback. And Dan Orlovsky says Brosmer can play.
He could flat out go.
All right.
He's a good player.
Good to know. Jalen Hurts. His tendencies have not changed in the 2 losses for the Eagles, but not by design. The trouble is the Eagles are trailing, particularly in the second half, and Hurts has had to throw the ball 10 more times per game. It certainly hasn't worked out, as we've all seen. He's been sacked 9 times in the last 2 losses, just 10 times in the first 4 wins. Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni addressing the struggles earlier today.
We have to worry about ourselves and not focus on other things. I think that's something we always talk about is, there's a lot of outside distractions, and that's why that mindset's so important to be able to, eliminate things that could distract you from your goal, whether that is the adversity that you're going through or outside noise or inside noise, whatever it might be, is eliminating those distractions to focus completely on what you need to do and the task at hand.
Okay, so he says the Eagles are worrying about themselves, but Brian Flores and the Vikings are coming to town. What should he be worried about, RC?
He should be worried about that pressure. This Eagles offense is going to be under more pressure than a loose button on a fat man's jacket. We know the way that Brian Flores likes to attack these offenses and attack these quarterbacks. They're going to make sure that they try to blitz Jalen Hurts as much as possible. This is the way to get the football out of his hands. This is a way to make him uneasy in the pocket. And quite frankly, the Philadelphia Eagles just don't have great adjustments for the pressure, whether it be their blocking scheme or their routes or their hots. They seem to fold whenever teams put pressure on them, and we've seen that from week 1 since the second half when the Dallas Cowboys and Matt Eberflus decided to employ that sort of strategy week in and week out. This is how defense have decided to attack Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's facing one of the best at doing it in Brian Flores in that group.
Ryan's absolutely right. This is a challenging matchup from a passing perspective because everything that Hurts has struggled with, sim, zone blitzes, are the things that Brian Flores is like the grandmaster in, right? The Vikings zone blitz at the highest rate in football. Yep. They're very good at it. Where they've been less good this year, the Vikings defense, is stopping the run. 24th in success rate against the run this season. And that's where my attention is for Philadelphia because it's obviously another thing they need to fix. Saquon Barkley is being contacted at the line of scrimmage way too much. Defenses have keyed in on him because they have not created any doubt at the second level. And if they don't want to use under center play action, that's not their bread and butter, I think what they have to do is one of 2 things. One, more RPOs. They've been harping on this. The other thing, though, and this is so important, Jalen Hurts has to run the football. If they're going to live in that shotgun outside zone world, Hurts has to be a threat to keep it. He has to do it early in this game. And I think if he can seed that fear in the Vikings linebackers, then it's going to ease things up on Saquon Barkley.
You want to hear something crazy about the Eagles offense? Last year, in 2024, they ran the RPO 16 times. This year, they've run it 10. This is a team that in 2023 ran it 300 times, 200 times. The RPO's gone away from this offense.
Wow, that's because he's so comfortable that way. All right, so again, one of the many mysteries about the Eagles, when we look on the other side of the ball, when the Vikings are on offense, what's the most important matchup, Dan?
I would live in 11 personnel this week if I was Minnesota. In Minnesota, it's not necessarily who exactly they are. They middle of the pack when it comes to putting those 11 personnel people, 3 wide receivers on the field. But Philadelphia defensively is a bottom 5 defense if you do so. They've given up 11 touchdowns facing 11 personnel.
Terrible.
For me, it's Justin Jefferson and Addison. It's all about how do I use Justin and how do I use Addison. And if I can get one of those 2 guys on anybody really but Quinyon Mitchell or Cooper DeJean, we should have a ton of success throwing the football. And so as much as I love Minnesota's 12 personnel when they put their 2 tight ends on the field, this week, I think it's an 80%, 11 personnel matchup or plan game-wise, and I would make Philadelphia play to their weakness, which is having those 3 or 4 corners on the field.
Dan, I love that. And I love the fact that you mentioned Addison and Jefferson because the matchup isn't in the slot. The matchup is going to be outside opposite Quinyon Mitchell. And it's going to be schematically, what do we see from Vic Fangio's defense early? You know, a few days ago or a week ago, we watched Quinyon Mitchell on the sideline with a hamstring. And so is he going to track number 1 in Justin Jefferson, or is he just going to play one side of the field? Because if he does, and we know exactly where to go each and every play, they should get a heavy dose of Jordan Addison or of Justin Jefferson on the outside because they are so susceptible and vulnerable.
All right, guys, as we look at our picks here,
what do we got?
How am I the only one on the Vikings? Because I listened to you guys breaking down all the Eagles' issues, and I'm like, the Vikings are at home. They're going to beat
Santa.
Well,
that's how.
You be respectful to Carson Wentz. No,
oh, you knew that was coming. You knew that was coming. Okay.
Ride the roller coaster, man.
Some notable injuries, by the way, ahead of the Commanders and the Cowboys on Sunday in Dallas. Terry McLaurin will be out for a 4th straight game. We still don't really have any definitive word yet on Deebo Samuel, and actually the same can be said for CeeDee Lamb. As we mentioned, that Diggs injury popped up today. He's out Sunday. Here's Dallas head coach Brian Schottenheimer with more.
Trayvon Diggs came in this morning with some concussion symptoms after having an accident at his home. He's been checked out by our doctors and is in the protocol and will miss the game.
Okay, very strange set of circumstances for this injury, RC, but they're already just flat out terrible this season. Now no Diggs. What does that mean?
Times when you're hanging Halloween decorations on your house, those ladders can get slippery. No, I'm just joking about something I probably shouldn't be. But I think the thing about this is Reddy Stewart has played a ton in the slot for this team. And on the outside, we've seen a lot of Deron Bland and Kyer Elam. And so you're going to see those things as well. I think the big thing for the Dallas Cowboys is, can you stop the run first to even get to the point to where your cornerbacks and your secondary and your defensive backs are involved in this game? When you think about Bill Krosky-Merritt and what we've seen for him throughout this year, he didn't have that sort of impact on the game against the Chicago Bears. And I expect that they'll come in watching that film from last week and say to themselves, that's where we have to get going, which would allow Jaden Daniels opportunities to carve up that back end, because we know the rush of the Dallas Cowboys isn't what it could have been after making the trade of Micah Parsons.
Yep, it all goes back to that. All right, so let's talk about the Dallas offense. They're going to have to carry the day as usual. What are you looking for?
It's a great offense until it gets to the red zone, and then it's an average offense. If the Cowboys are going to matter this season with as bad of a defense they are, they're going to have to be a lot better in the red zone. I think they got to throw it a lot more in the red zone. Just look at where Dak ranks and where this offense is. Outside of the red zone on the right side, they're top 5. Inside the red zone, they're bottom 3rd. And so if they want to score enough points to protect this defense, that's number 1. Number 2, I keep saying this, and I'm being dead serious. I cross the 50 if I'm Dallas offensively, and it's 4th or 5 or less, I'm going for it. I'm not kicking field goals anymore because it does nothing for my football team to actually help us win the game. It just gets Brandon Aubrey points. Go for it.
That's the analytics Mina likes.
No.
Oh, there it is.
Whoa.
Mina.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a party. It's a party. It's a party. It's a party.
That's what it's going to feel like when both these teams are on offense. Both of these coaches needs to be aggressive as hell in this game. I'm with Dan. Passing in the red zone, too, when things get tight. I don't think Washington has people who can cover both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. But between the 20s, I do think they'll be able to run the ball really well on Washington. What we saw last week against Chicago was alarming off tackle, particularly when they got them moving from side to side. I think we're going to see a return to form for Javonte Williams, especially with CeeDee Lamb on the field, because Washington's going to have to play more coverage in this.
All right, hey, let's set those fireworks off because this is our first unanimous pick of the day. And it's our first gong. I'm proud of us, though, you guys. We are like 40 minutes
I'm so disgusted with Dan and his score.
Yeah, you know his score thing. You know his score thing is the thing with me. I'll double it. Just you can double it for people. You can double
man, 20 to 17 all day, every day. I know.
2017 every game, man. Every game.
RC.
I think the Cowboys could win this. I don't love this.
We picked the bring it back down to earth, girl, because your guy, the Chargers are listing Joe Alt as doubtful for Sunday's game. Look at little Joe. He appears once more on our program.
Little Joe.
Mina, does this mean you're changing your pick now?
Yes, I am changing my pick. 2 thumbs down. Do not like this move. I'm going to the Colts, and I trust that everybody respects the caveat I applied the first time around.
I don't know.
Because I think he's that important. I do. I think he's so important to this Charger. Have you guys watched the Chargers offensive line lately? Come on.
Yeah, no, we have. Believe me. Mina, I think you're setting a dangerous precedent here with your caveat. But anyway, we go on. We just got ourselves here. All right. Time now for locks and keys. We're going to tell you something we guarantee will happen. That's a lock. And also something that will play a big role in determining the outcome. That's a key. So we're going to start with Giants and Broncos, where there's been some trash talking this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's a young guy. He's, feeling himself a little bit. He's out there running around. He's got the chain on. He's dancing. I feel like everybody needs something. So, but we've went against QBs who have ran around in the pocket and have, tried to do stuff with their legs. So ain't nothing we haven't seen.
What did you think of what Cooper said? Yeah, we're going to sell everything Sunday. I don't really matter no more.
Dan, give us a lock in this one.
Yeah. Don't know if I want to go quarterback offense right now. Lock. This Broncos defense will have a minimum of 3 sacks. I love everything that Jackson Dart has done for this offense and brought to this offense. This pass rush is a different animal now. This is one of the best one-on-one, one of the best group, one of the most creative pass rushes and pass rush groups in the league. This Giants offensive line has been a little bit covered because of the way that Dart has played. And there's times, as much as I appreciate his play, he's been all over the place with his eyes and feet. I think that'll hurt him this week. At least 3 sacks.
RC, what's the key here?
Going forward, I want to work with less intelligent people who study a lot of film because the key is protecting Jackson Dart. I mean, Dan knows that. Mina knows that. You look at this front with Benito and Cooper and the way they add people like Stranad to the rush and actually just go out and whip you up front. And the beauty of the Denver Broncos is that they finish, and they finish violently and physically. And when you hear Jonathan Cooper saying, he runs around, he wears his chain, and we've seen people like that, that means that's been an emphasis inside of that room the entire week, and I expect them to come hunting for Jackson Dart.
Okay, so maybe no surprise as we look at our picks. We are all on the same side for the second time today.
Not too bad, though. Not too bad.
Not too bad.
2 in a show is not bad.
Well, you and Mina are keeping it close here with your scores.
20 seconds?
Yeah. Broncos just 9-12 under Sean Payton in 1-score games, though. Just saying, because it's like a day of caveats. So just going to throw that in. All right, next, the Niners are reeling after a loss to the Bucs. And no, they're without Fred Warner. Could that defense